Welcome to Conservative Voices Talking Points. We talked just before the show started recording about conservative responses to things. I think far too often, and I'm not here to give an opinion, I want to ask, do you feel that far too often conservatives do just that and say, well, we'll deal with something next time, or the next crisis, or we don't want to make a big scene about this? It seems to be the conservative response, but am I off in that?
Well, I think mainstream media has put us in that box. I mean, you hear, kind of the left tone, what the administration or, government propaganda is pushing on us. And if we say anything like we are worried about the election, as an example, I'm worried about the election that I saw and was a part of and witnessed last fall, in a lot of spots not being all right and numbers not adding up correctly. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but they will tell me that I am a conspiracy theorist and that I'm a crazy because I don't believe 100% in all of the votes in Arizona and Pennsylvania, and I worked in down in Georgia for the special. It's a messed up and complicated system, and they threw stuff at us through last fall that we had never seen before, using COVID as an excuse. They're trying to bury all this stuff, and I'm really worried about what they're doing.
Taking what he said, Gentry, you talk about conservatives sticking with your principles. You mentioned it earlier as well. I heard a quote from, I believe it was Adam Carolla, and he said at one point, this is a few months ago, conservatives just need to stop caring about being called names or being treated like, well, you don't know what you're talking about, and stick to your guns, stick to your beliefs. I know you've hit on this, and just like what you're talking about, if someone thinks that you shouldn't think something because you believe 2 + 2 = 4, not to go back to the math thing, but that you're not being compassionate enough because a liberal thinks that if you hold a high bar and try to get somebody to achieve it, well, you just don't care about them. Mm-hmm. Not at all. So the conservative response, I believe what Adam Carolla said. Just, okay, call me that name, right? I'm going to continue to stick with my beliefs.
I think that's true. I might, and I didn't hear him say that, but I love that. There's a lot of truth in that. There's something else to it, though, that I might suggest, and we've talked about it here in a couple of different contexts over the weeks. And that is that we need to pick our own fights. I think too often conservatives get sucked into responding to what the other side wants us to do. And to me, and we don't talk about this a lot in politics, but maybe we should. To me, it's about whether you love your neighbor or not, right? We like to say in politics, I'm an American first and a conservative second and a Republican third. I say I'm a follower of Jesus Christ first, and then an American, and then a conservative, and then a Republican. And he was asked, and I'll paraphrase, okay, so forgive me, but he was asked, what's the greatest of the commandments? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your strength, all your mind, all your heart, and your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, what is that kind of love? We should be in that business in politics, and I don't mean to be evangelical in that sense. The government has no business, right? I'm all in on the First Amendment, religious liberties. But we ought to, as conservatives, we ought to say our job is to love our neighbor, right? How do we do that, right? There's a definition of love that's important here, right? Classically defined, that kind of love is what? It's an act of the will, and it's to will the good of the other for their own sake. Not because I get something from it, not because I feel good about it.
Unconditional.
Right? That's unconditional love. And that's why you have to tell that kid, you are going to do the math, and I'm going to sit here with you until you get it right. We're going to find the resources to get it right. But you don't love that kid if you tell him, don't worry about it, right? You don't love somebody by saying, well, maybe we can dabble in socialism. No. Socialism killed 120 million human beings in the last century, right? You love them how? By saying, you can call me any name you want, but I'm going to tell the truth, which is that limited government, free enterprise, open markets, equal opportunity for all of us to compete in that marketplace, make our own decisions. That is the only set of ideas that have fed the hungry and given drink to the thirsty and created the ecosystem for innovation in healthcare and so forth, right? You want to know how we love our neighbor well? Be limited government, free enterprise, free market conservatives. And right, not because we're unthinking, but precisely because we are thinking.
That's exactly right. What do they want? They want non-thinking people. Who can you manipulate? Non-thinking people. What do people that don't understand math are non-thinkers? This to me is a playbook, fellas, that's being ran.
But you got to love the other guy, is my point. You got to love
no,
the
I
other
get
guy
what you're saying, but
to
you
care
never
about
hear
whether they're-
Biden saying love your neighbor.
No.
None of
no.
this.
Right. I didn't mean to
Fortunately,
interrupt,
in
Rob.
my
You're-
lifetime, I've been able to travel the globe and see a lot of things. And I've been to Russia, and I've done work in China. And for us to believe for 1 second that any country outside of the United States is a better form of living than here, you're crazy. You're nuts. And that's a challenge.
Everyone wants to live here.
Everyone wants to live here. Everybody wants to live here. No one wants. So I take offense when people talk about, hey, this is a bad place, the race theory BS. They're trying to tear the greatest country in the world down, and they're trying to get us to believe their lies. And that's what they are. You travel outside the wire, outside our border, and it's a different place. And if you want to believe that the Chinese have anything positive for us, you're sorely mistaken. If you think the Russians are thinking of how they're going to help us, you're sorely mistaken. If you think the French, none of them are going to help us. No one. And so
They want all of our money, though.
They want all of our money, and they want to ruin us.
all of our defense.
They want to ruin us. They want to destroy us. Now, there's also a bunch of people out there that look for that shining light or the house on the hill, and that's a big responsibility that we have. And we're fortunate to live here. We are that beacon for everyone else in the globe. And if we don't understand the responsibility of that position, we'll lose it. Yeah. We'll lose it. And that's a shame, that's a sin.
And who are we going to lose it to? That's the scarier part.
We're going to lose it to the Chinese. The Chinese are imperialists. They want to conquer. They're going to Afghanistan. They own all the mineral rights. Why? Because China doesn't have any natural resources. They can't grow anything. Their water tables only go so deep, so they have to grow rice. They have to import 1,600 calories a day around the globe for their people to feed them. They don't have any natural resources. And we're listening to these guys. We're bending to them.
Bottom line is America is where you want to be. I mean, that's why people are trying to come to it.
And I fundamentally agree, and that's why I'm saying, it isn't just about being a tough guy when he says, you can't care what they call you. If decide that you're going to love your neighbor. Show me a place where we've ever done it better than the United States of America. You can't.
Well, I'll show you the worst example of it was Afghanistan.
Right.
Because our neighbors are there. We're leaving them there.
Exactly. And so why not? Why do you have an obligation now not to care what they say about you? Precisely because the only way to love your neighbor is to grow what we have here, to protect what we have here, to celebrate
and understand what we have here.
Well, gentlemen, we've talked about